But meanwhile, Neptune had been made aware by the ocean's roaring commotion, and the currents eddying even in the sea's still depths, that a storm had been unleashed. Gravely provoked, he raised his head from the waves, and looking forth serenely high above the surface, he saw Aeneas's fleet scattered, his Trojans overborne by violent waves, and all the sky teeming down. He soon realized the trick played by his spiteful sister Juno. He summoned the winds of the east and the west before him, and straightway spoke.
So, winds, is this the length to which your pride of birth prompts you to go? You actually dare, without my sovereign consent, to throw sky and earth into confusion and raise these mountainous seas. I will show you. But no, first, I had better set the waves at rest. After that, you are going to pay dearly for your offense. Make haste now and withdraw. And give your king a message from me. Dominion over the ocean, sanctioned by the rootless trident, was allotted not to him, but to me. His place is the rock's vast cavern where, wind of the east, you winds have your home. That is the royal court of Aeolus. There he may vaunt his sovereign pride, so long as he keeps the prison of the winds well barred.
Speaking thus, and quicker than speech, he made the heaving ocean calm. He routed the gathered clouds and brought back the sun. As he did so, Triton and Cymothoe pressed against the ships and dislodged them from the cutting rocks, and Neptune aided them, levering with his trident. Great sandbanks reappeared. As lightly skimming the wave crest in his chariot, he calmed the sea. It had been like a sudden riot in some great assembly, when, as they will, the meaner folk forget themselves and grow violent, so that firebrands and stones are soon flying, for savage passion quickly finds weapons. But then they may chance to see some man whose character and record command their respect. If so, they will wait in silence, listening keenly. He will speak to them, calming their passions and guiding their energies. So now all the uproar of the ocean subsided. Its lord, Father Neptune, had only to look forth over the sea, and under a cloudless heaven he wheeled his horses, gave them the rein, and let his willing chariot fly. Thoroughly exhausted, Aeneas and his men made efforts to run for the nearest land within reach. They set course for the coast of Africa. There is a haven there, at the end of a long sound, quite landlocked by an island in the shape of two breakwaters, which parts the waves entering from the open sea and draws them off into long channels. On each shore, a frightening headland of rock towers massively into the sky, and the wide expanse of water which they overshadow is noiseless and secure. Beyond the water, a curtain of trees with quivering leaves reaches downwards, and behind them is an overhanging forest-clad mountainside, mysterious and dark. There is a cave directly in front at the foot of the cliffs. Inside it are stalactites and fresh water, and there are seats there, cut in the living rock. For nymphs have their home in the cave. Here, a tired ship will never need a cable or an anchor with a fluke to bite and make her fast. Aeneas, who had reunited only a bare 7 ships out of all his fleet, moved up into the sound. The Trojans, yearning to be on dry land again, disembarked and, delighted to feel the sand under them, lay down, all caked with brine, on the beach. Achates struck a spark from a flint, the first thing to be done. He had leaves there to catch the fire, which he fed by putting dry material around it, and he quickly had a flame in the tinder. Others, although utterly weary from their plight, fetched out some grain which they had saved, though it was the worse for sea water, and utensils for cooking. They prepared to grind the corn on stone and bake bread. While they did so, Aeneas climbed a rock, commanding a wide unbroken view far across the sea, in the hope of sighting some Trojan ships, wind-battered but afloat, the ships perhaps of Antheus, or of Capys, or Caicus, with her high blazoned stern. But there was not a ship to be seen. He could see, however, 3 stags straying on the shore, and behind them, in a long line, their whole herd, grazing in a valley. Abruptly he stopped, and quickly he gripped a bow and some arrows, swift to fly, with his faithful Achates had been carrying. His first shots brought the leaders to the ground, stags with tall antlers like tree branches. Next, he turned on the herd, and his arrows stampeded them in confusion among the green forest trees. Aeneas only ceased shooting when he had triumphantly laid on the earth 7 weighty carcasses, in number equal to the surviving ships. He now made his way back to the haven and shared the meat among his company, and with it he apportioned the cargo of wine casks, which, with a hero's generosity, the kindly Acestes had given them on the beach in Sicily as they embarked. He then spoke to them to console them in their grief.
Friends of mine, we have long been no strangers to affliction, and you have had worse than this to bear. Now, as before, Providence will bring your suffering to an end. You have sailed right in among the rocks, where Scylla's rabid sea dogs bark. You have faced the Cyclops, monsters of the stones. You must revive your spirits and dismiss unhappiness and fear. Perhaps one day you will enjoy looking back, even on what you now endure. We have forced our way through adventures of every kind, risking all again and again. But the way is the way to Latium, where destiny offers us rest and a home, and where imperial Troy may have the right to live again. Hold hard, therefore. Preserve yourselves for better days.
Such were the words he spoke, but he was sick at heart, for the cares which he bore were heavy indeed. Yet he concealed his sorrow deep within him, and his face looked confident and cheerful. Trojans now prepared to deal with a game on which they were soon to feast. Some of them flayed the hides from the ribs, disclosing the meat. Others then cut the meat into steaks and spitted it, quivering. Others again found places on the beach for cauldrons and provided the fires to boil them. Then they ate and restored their strength. Stretched on the grass, they filled themselves with old wine and rich venison, and feasted till their hunger was gone. When the meal was cleared away, they talked long, sadness for their lost comrades, poised between the hope they might possibly be living yet, and the fear that they had reached their life's ending, were beyond all human appeal. More than any other, Aeneas the true sighed within himself for the lot of the fiery Orontes and of Amycus, thinking of each one, or again of some terrible fate which Lycus might have met, and then of Gyas and of Cloanthus, his valiant friends. They had now finished their meal, and Jupiter looked down from heaven's height on the sea, where the white wings sail, on the lands flat below, on the coasts, and on the nations of the wide world. He stood in the zenith of the sky, and his eyes rested on royal Carthage. Then suddenly, as he pondered gravely on the issues involved, Venus addressed him. She was downcast, and tears stood in her glistening eyes as she spoke. Disposer, by eternal decrees of all life, human and divine, you whose bolt of thunder is our dread, how can Aeneas, my dear son, and the other Trojans have given you offense so grave? Often has death visited them, and now because they make for Italy, all the earth is close to them. Yet your promise was of Romans, leaders of men, who should one day with the rolling of the years be their descendants. With Teucer's blood, strong once more, running in their veins, they were to discipline all the sea and all lands under their law. Father, what thought has been changing your will? As for me, your promise consoled me for the dread havoc of Troy's fall, since I could weigh against her fate the compensation of this new destiny. But now the Trojans, driven on from disaster to disaster, are still being pursued by the same ill fortune. Monarch supreme, what end to their ordeals will you grant them? After all, Antenor escaped right through the press of Greeks and contrived to sail safely up to the head of the Adriatic, where the Liburnians hold rule. Even the fount of the Timavus, the river through whose 9 mouths sea water bursts forth from echoing caverns below, so that ocean's roar is heard on the meadows of the land. And here Antenor actually found a place where Trojans might settle and named his city Padua. He has given its people a Trojan name and hung Trojan weapons on the walls. And there, in relief from turmoil, he is serenely at peace. Yet we, your own children, having your own permission to climb the very citadel of heaven, are all through the anger of one, most monstrously betrayed. Our ships are lost, and we are parted far from Italy's coasts. Do you so reward our reverence for you? Is this how you install us in the royalty which is our due? The creator of the gods and of humankind smiled on her with the smile which he wears when he calms the storms and clears the sky. Lightly, he kissed his daughter and then spoke.
Spare your fears, Cytherean. You have your people's destiny still, and it shall not be disturbed. You shall see your city, see Lavinium's walls, for I have promised them. And you shall exalt to the stars of heaven your son Aeneas, the great of heart. There is no thought changing my will, but now, because of anxiety for him, so pricks you. Therefore shall I speak of the more distant future, and turning the scroll of the fates, awake their secrets. Know, then, that Aeneas shall fight a great war in Italy, and overthrow proud peoples. He shall establish for his warriors a way of life, and walls for their defense. And he shall live until the third summer looks on his reign in Latium, and he has passed his third winter in camp since his conquest of the Rutulians. But Ascanius, his young son, was now given a second name, Iulius, having been Uilus, as long as the sovereignty of Ilium survived, shall complete in royal power each circling month for 30 long years. Active and vigorous, he shall build Alba Longa to be strong, and thither shall he transfer his rule from its old seat, Lavinium. Here, under a dynasty of Hector's kin, the royal power shall live. Here kings shall reign for a period of 300 years until one day Aelia, a priestess of the royal blood, shall bear twin sons to Mars. Then shall one Romulus, nursed by a wolf and gay in a red-brown wolf's skin, inherit the line. He shall build battlements of Mars, and call his people Romans after his name. To Romans I set no boundary in space or time. I have granted them dominion, and it has no end. Yes, even the furious Juno, who now wearies the sea, earth, and heaven with a strain of fear, shall amend her plans, and she and I will foster the nation which wears the toga, the Roman nation, masters of the world. My decree is made. Time in its 5-year spans shall slip by, till an age shall come when the house of Assaracus shall crush to subjection even Pythia and illustrious Mycenae, and conquer Argos, and hold mastery there. And then shall be born, with proud descent from Troy, one Caesar,